session here this evening with very little preparation, so I apologise if this is a little sketchy, but hopefully some people will find it useful. So yeah, this is about dreams and what their purpose is and what they might mean. So I'm doing this because someone on the Hive mentioned dreams earlier on today, and I said that I could do a session on it if that would be helpful, and they said yes. So Emma, here it is, and anyone else who wants to learn a little bit about what dreams are for and how we can make meaning of them, how we can interpret them, then hopefully this short session with minimal preparation will be of some use to you. So yeah, first of all, I want to say I'm not an expert on dreams at all. So this is just kind of my opinion based on what I've learned at college so far and through some of the reading I've done. Carl Jung, the psychologist, psychotherapist, did lots of work on dreams, really interesting. So recommend looking into that if you want to learn more. And also some podcasts. So This Jungian Life is one of my favorites, which is 3 psychotherapists who look at, just this week I had some vivid dreams. I'll come back to that in a minute, Natasha. Lots of people having vivid dreams. So This Jungian Life is really good. And at the end of each episode of the podcast, they analyse one of their listeners' dreams. And it's dead good. So I'm kind of borrowing their technique in what I'm going to share here. So yes, Natasha, lots of people, Emma as well, are saying that they're having very vivid dreams. And this isn't just in this little network here, it's across the world. Since COVID-19 kicked off, lots of people are saying they're remembering their dreams more and they're especially vivid. So there's a couple of places that I know that are researching this, they're gathering data, asking people to submit their dreams, and they're kind of collating it all and going to do some analysis around it, see if they can make some sense of it. So I think it's probably because we are, I mean, this is a massive time of change. And Natasha, if you're still listening, that video that you posted earlier on, that kind of 4 minutes fairy tale thing, which was lovely. I showed it to my son this evening. Yeah, it's a time of big change, big reevaluation, and also a lot of anxiety. And perhaps people are not sleeping as deeply. Perhaps they're getting more of that REM sleep and waking up from that REM sleep, which is when we tend to dream, and remembering their dreams, and perhaps having a little difficulty getting back to sleep as they try to analyze them. Anyway, I digress. So what was I going to say? Oh yes, if you think you don't dream, you do. Apparently everybody dreams. It's just that a lot of people don't remember them. And if you do want to remember your dreams so that you can analyze them or just have a bit of fun, because sometimes they're fun, aren't they? What I'd recommend is having a piece of paper or a journal or something at the side of your bed and something to write with. And every time you have a dream, if you wake up, straight away, have that discipline to write it down. Just get down the key events, the key characters in the dream. Usually it'll be people that you know, that might have some emotional charge around it, and your feelings as well. So just note down those things before you go back to sleep. Otherwise, from my own experience, the dream's gone if you don't write it down straight away. So that's my little tip for you there. So I remember when I was quite young, I was fascinated with dreams. I still am actually, but I bought a dream dictionary, one of those things that you can get from the cheap bookshops that says, is like, it's got all the symbols that might come up in your dreams, and then it gives a definition to say, this is what it means. And if you dream about the moon, it means you're going to have a romance. Or if you dream about teeth, it means that you're really anxious about aging or some kind of health issue. So yeah, I lapped that up as a youngster, but I now think they're of limited use, if any use at all, because I think they're really overgeneralizing. And what I believe is that we need to look at the dreams ourselves, to see what those symbols mean for us. So I'm totally on board with the symbolism, but a moon for you might mean something completely different to a moon for me. Teeth for Bob might mean something completely different for teeth for Teresa. So, yeah, too general, those books, I feel. So, what I would say is every dream that we have does have a meaning. And I suppose before I get into the meaning, I'll talk a little bit about what I believe the purpose of dreams is. So you may be familiar with the concepts of the conscious and the unconscious. And there's a really nice illustration that you'll see if you just type that into Google. You'll probably see an iceberg. So if you think about your typical iceberg, you've got the surface of the sea here, and you've got an iceberg here which looks quite big. But actually, your typical iceberg has got a massive thing underneath, and probably 80% of the ice is below the surface. And that's a kind of metaphor for our consciousness. So what's above the surface is in our conscious mind. We're aware of it. But below the surface, there's a lot more going on, which is unconscious. And that drives most of our behavior. So how we react to stuff when we get angry, we get emotional, get anxious. So much of that stuff is based on what's in our unconscious. And most of that goes back to our childhood, from things that happened usually between the age of 0 and 7, but older stuff as well, which we didn't have the emotional language, resilience, vocabulary to actually process at that time. So we just push it down into the unconscious. And any traumas that we had as well through most of our life, even our adult life, we quite often push it down into our unconscious because we can't deal with it. It's too much to deal with. Oh, Yvonne, both myself and husband are having weird and vivid dreams, also having quite bad ones about getting the virus. Yeah, so fear stuff, totally understandable, Yvonne. Yeah, okay, I'm not going to offer any advice around that, but I'll crack on. Yeah, so unconscious stuff. So the purpose of dreams, I believe, is that there's something in our unconscious which our psyche is telling us we're now ready to bring into the conscious. So it's stuff that perhaps we haven't admitted to ourselves, or stuff that was too difficult for us to deal with at the time and we've pushed down. Or it might just be some behaviours that we kind of know that we're doing now, which are unhelpful, but we're not really consciously focusing on them. So we kind of deny them and push them away. So that is what I believe the purpose of dreams is, most of the time, if not all of the time. It's to bring something into our conscious so that we can act upon it. Our psyche thinks we're ready to take some action and behave differently. So that's the purpose. The meaning of dreams, I think it takes a little bit of skill or practice to analyse your own dreams. You can do it, definitely. There's lots of material out there to help you do so. It can also be really helpful if you've got another person just to give you another perspective and perhaps ask you some questions to reflect back to you what happened in the dream and what the key points were, and just to stimulate your mind through questioning. So that can be a really good thing. So maybe, Yvonne, you and your husband can practice this on each other. You might find that helpful. Yeah, so how often have somebody come to you and said, oh, I had such a weird dream last night, and then they go into a 15-minute monologue saying, and then I was on a roller coaster, and then the roller coaster took off into the air, and then everything exploded into sweets, and then we landed in this field and it was full of cows and they all had 8 legs, and on and on and on, and you're just sat there incredibly bored thinking there's nothing more boring than listening to someone else's dream, which to them was in this magical kind of fantasy movie, which was incredibly exhilarating, and to you it's just, oh my God. Anyway, to us they are interesting, and if you find out the meaning of them, they can be really, really useful in our personal development and also unlocking some difficult emotions and stuff like that. So So most dreams are a bit weird, aren't they? You don't normally dream of going to work, just having a normal day at the office and going home again. There's always something a little bit weird going on, or some kind of interactions with, strange language, strange characters, strange behavior, something unusual. And what I'd say is the language that the unconscious uses, and it is the unconscious that communicates with us in these dreams, is different to the language of our conscious mind. So the way it communicates is through symbolism. So that's where I do agree with the Dream Dictionary, that symbols mean something, but they mean different things to each person. So, what we need to do is look at the symbols in the dreams and say, okay, well, what does that mean for me? And also, I should say, people in dreams are not the people that you think they are. So if you're dreaming about your best friend, Bob, the dream isn't about Bob. Bob is there to represent part of you. Bob is part of your psyche. So what you need to do is say, okay, well, what characteristics does Bob have? And you might say, oh, Bob's really kind, but he's also incredibly shy and anxious. So if those are the kind of 3 top qualities that you think about Bob, then that's one of those, or all of those, are what the dream is trying to communicate to you about yourself. So Bob is symbolizing a part of you. I hope that's making sense. What I'll do is just talk through some dreams that I had last year, I think it was. I was having several dreams with a similar theme, and I just kept having these very similar dreams and couldn't work out what they were about until one day, ching, got the light bulb, got the message, and I haven't dreamt about it since. So what it was is I was having many dreams about cars, and normally it was my car, and some damage was happening to the car, or the car was being put at risk. So an example, it was that I was a passenger in the car and I was letting my friend drive, but I wasn't confident in their driving, and they were trying to do a reverse parking maneuver and getting too close to the car behind and bumping the car in front, and I was, feeling very anxious about them not looking after my car. And another one, I think I was just in a normal kind of family hatchback and racing it around this track, like a stock car track where everyone was smashing each other up. And I thought, hang on, my car shouldn't be here. This is just a normal car and it's nice and shiny and new. And why am I getting into this kind of banger race? And then the one that really did it for me was I drove the car into Manchester and parked behind Piccadilly Station, which is a bit of a dodgy area, red light district. And I noticed as I was coming in to park the car at the side of the road, the devil was on the other side of the road with one of his minions. And I just kind of looked at him and thought, okay, yeah, looks a bit shady, a bit of a dodgy character, but I'm just going to park here anyway. So leaving my car in a not very nice area, putting it at risk. I had loads of these dreams about cars, and I talked to my psychotherapist about it, but she doesn't do dream analysis. But one day I was just thinking it through using this kind of Jungian technique of what do these things symbolize, and I got it. And I thought, okay, so what is my car? My car is a vehicle. So thinking about that, what's my vehicle? My vehicle on this earth is my body. And I realized in an instant that my unconscious was trying to tell me that I was not taking good care of my vehicle. And at the time, I was in one of my phases of going to bed too late, doing too over-exercising, so pushing myself too hard on the squash court and getting injuries. I broke my first bone last year because I was throwing myself around the squash court. I'd fallen over whilst running because I was trying to write a note on my phone at the same time. And probably overeating at times as well. So basically, I was not looking after my vehicle. And the dreams were coming thick and fast, over and over again, slightly different each time, but all to do with a vehicle, and that was my symbol for my body. Hope that makes sense. So yeah, I suppose what you can do is just have a look at the key people in your dreams, and don't see them as your friend Bob. See what are the characteristics of Bob, and relate them to yourself. So that last dream I told you about that I had, the devil was there. So I thought, okay, what's the devil? And you think, the devil's is a bit shady, bit of a shadowy character, perhaps makes some not very good decisions, maybe unhelpful, unsavory, the shadowy aspect of the self. So that's what I kind of thought there, that the devil was representing the part of me that I was kind of denying, that I was being over competitive, I was overeating, I wasn't sleeping enough, negative behaviors which you might want to kind of keep secret and hide from yourself or hide from other people, not have them in your conscious. So that's what the devil was in that instance. So for you, if it's Bob's anxious and shy, maybe that's part of you that's been represented by Bob there. And maybe it's time, depending on the context of your dream, maybe it's trying to say, okay, you need to look at your anxiety, or your shyness is holding you back, or whatever it means to you. Okay, so I think that's about it. Yeah, I think so. So I hope that makes sense. Hope that's a little bit helpful. If you've got any questions, or you want to know a bit more, then let me know. Like I say, I've not really prepared this, so this is a bit off the hoof. But yeah, maybe try that. If you're having vivid dreams, maybe try writing it down as soon as you wake up. Write down the key events, the characters, and what those characters represent. Maybe leave that till the morning, and the feelings that you had in the dream. So if you're feeling angry, frustrated, scared, whatever, write those down as well. Then you can analyze it in the morning. Maybe you get your partner or your friend or someone to prompt you to say, okay, well, what does Bob mean to you? What are the characteristics of Bob? What does the symbol of a spade mean to you if you dreamed about a spade? And so on. And hopefully, with a bit of interaction, a bit of to and fro, you'll get the message, and then you can bring that into your conscious. And should you choose to take action, change your behavior, or just have some light bulb moment, that's up to you to do so if you wish. So there we go, a little whistle-stop tour through what I understand dreams to be, the purpose and meaning of, and leave that with you. Give me a shout if you want to share some dreams. Maybe if you do any analysis on yourself, you want to share it, put it on the Hive. If I can be of further assistance in any way, give me a shout. Okay, folks, hope you've had a good Saturday. And tomorrow at midday, Simon is going to be here doing a lovely mindfulness meditation and reflection session. No pressure to get involved. You can just kind of come along and listen and relax, or you can be a bit more active if you wish. But he's dead good. I think he was the first guest we ever had on the Hive. Qualified Breathworks mindfulness teacher, and an hour of calm at noon tomorrow, which is always good. So take care. See you soon. Toodaloo.